Lawyer explains use of money after charges laid on judge. 12 people killed in tragic plane crash. Niugini commissions its third Fokker 70 aircraft.
This is National EMTV News with Meribah Tulo.
Good evening, I'm Meribah Tulo with Thursday's news. Luani Henao, the lawyer representing Justice Sir Bernard Sakora, has explained allegations surrounding the 100,000 kina allegedly received by his client. Henao said while Justice Sir Bernard did receive the 100,000 kina, that money was for the sale of his vehicle and not to stay the Commission of Inquiry into the Finance Department. Tekla Gunga reports.
Henao explained to the media this afternoon that the purchase had nothing to do with the payments relating to Paul Paraka's cases. Henao said in September 2009, Justice Sir Bernard Sakora sold his vehicle, a Ford Everest station wagon, to Paraka lawyers. In March 2010, 6 months after the sale, Justice Sir Bernard Sakora was on a circuit in Alatau. There he granted interim injunction on the case involving Paul Paraka and the former Prime Minister, Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare.
Yes, we received 100,000 kina. The allegation is that 100,000 kina was received on account of His Honor having in his judicial capacity as a judge of the Supreme Court to stay the operations of Commission of Inquiry.
On Monday this week, Justice Sir Bernard Sakora was arrested and charged for 1 count of judicial corruption. That charge is in relation to the same 100,000 kina payment. He was granted 1,000 kina bail the same afternoon and appeared before Magistrate John Kaumi at the Waigani Committal Court yesterday morning. Henao described the charge as serious but said his client denies the judicial corruption.
We deny any judicial corruption on our part, and this 100,000 kina, yes, we know that this is 100,000 kina. It relates to a genuine commercial transaction.
The matter returns to court on March 4. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Justice Sir Bernard Sakora has volunteered to step aside and not preside over court cases at the Supreme and National Courts. His lawyer, Luani Henao, said his client's decision is to protect the integrity of the National and Supreme Courts. Henao said Justice Sir Bernard Sakora will separate himself from the 2 courts until his matter completes committal proceedings.
It is His Honor's conviction that because he is being charged with an offense prescribed by law, that he has decided voluntarily to step aside from discharging his constitutional functions as a judge of the National and the Supreme Court.
Attorney General and Justice Minister Ano Pala today filed a no-case submission before Committal Court Magistrate John Kaumi. 3 months has lapsed since he was charged for attempting to pervert the course of justice in October 2015. Magistrate Kaumi adjourned the matter to May the 27th to give enough time for police prosecutors to respond to the submission. It was alleged that Mr. Pala consented with the Solicitor General to prevent police from arresting Prime Minister Peter O'Neill last year. The Attorney General denied the charge. Meanwhile, in a separate matter, he will appear at the Waigani Committal Court tomorrow, charged for 15 counts of abuse of office and 15 counts of misappropriation of public funds totaling over 3.19 million kina. The Internal Revenue Commission. The Provincial Police Commander of Western Province described the plane crash in Kiunga yesterday as a very sad tragedy. Speaking to EMTV this morning from Kiunga, Superintendent Joe Puri confirmed the crash occurred between 2:15 and 2:30 p.m. Wednesday afternoon. He said the crash site, located between 1 and 1.5 kilometers from the Kiunga airport in a swampy area. Some policemen waded through high water to reach the site yesterday. He said an exploration company diverted their helicopters to help with the retrieving of the bodies yesterday, and by 4:30 p.m. all bodies were at the Kiunga Hospital morgue. An accident investigation commission team is already on the ground to begin investigations into this fatal crash. 12 people are confirmed dead, including an expatriate pilot, 2 women and 3 children. All are believed to be from the same village in Oksapmen. PPC Puri said the aircraft services the rural parts of the country, and it's unbelievable that this has happened. The pilot of this fatal plane crash has been identified as Australian Benjamin Andre Picard. His friends started leaving condolence messages on his Facebook page since this morning. Civil Aviation Minister Davis Stephen has expressed sorrow on the tragic plane crash and lives lost. He said funding is required from central agencies for the PNG Accident Investigation Commission to conduct investigations. He called for cooperation from all authorities, including district and local leaders. The minister said it is most unfortunate that another tragedy and painful loss of lives serves to remind government and industry to work towards a strong safety culture. The sad truth is that significant numbers of our people in rural and remote communities rely on the government to provide a safe and affordable air transportation today. At least 6 survivors of the Rabaul Queen disaster were called into the National Courtroom in Kokopo to give their accounts of their ordeal. All of them lost relatives in the 2012 disaster. The case was further adjourned to 9:30 next Monday morning. With National MTV News, Air Niugini names its 3rd Fokker 70 aircraft Hoskins. That story and more after the break. Welcome back to National MTV News. West New Britain Governor Sasindran Muthuvel says the province's priority economic activity is focused on agriculture and now tourism. With the recent upgrade of its airport and terminal facilities, this will boost economic activities and increase the potential of travel. The governor spoke at today's commissioning of Air Niugini as the official carrier of the PNG Games and the naming of its 3rd Fokker 70 aircraft.
For the name Hoskins to be christened on one of Air Niugini's Fokker 70 aircraft is a joyous moment for the people of West New Britain Province. Governor Muthuvel says the upgrade of flight services into the province has boosted the economic activities.
With the name Hoskins, give us, the people of West New Britain, so much joy, and we accept it with humbleness. Naming of Hoskins on these aircraft creates a special bond between our people of West New Britain and the nation's flag carrier.
West New Britain was recognized for its domestic services in the key regional market and the commitment Air Niugini has in maintaining affordable and safe airline services.
This aircraft is the 3rd of 9 Fokker 70 aircraft that will join the Air Niugini fleet over the next 18 months. I'm proud of our contribution to national development and to regional development as the national flag carrier. We are committed to doing even more.
State Enterprises Minister William Duma said Air Niugini has grown from strength to strength and thanked its board for continuing to improve the service.
I don't think you will let Air Niugini down and our country down. Papua New Guinea in many ways is one of the most difficult countries to run, particularly in the aviation industry, as all of us know. And yet, despite the numerous, sometimes unrealistic surcharges that we impose as government, they have been able to turn things around and at least deliver some dividend to us, and that is something that no one can take away from you, gentlemen. I once again congratulate you.
The unveiling was done by West New Britain Governor Sasindran Muthuvel, State Enterprises Minister William Duma, and Sports Minister Justin Tachenko. Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
The Octeri Development Foundation is focused on making communities in the Western Province self-reliant. Under the Community Mine Continuation Agreement, the 5-year Strategic Direction Plan 2016 to 2020 has been endorsed. The programs and projects will focus on the theme, community financial self-reliance through socio-economic initiatives and improved infrastructure.
To achieve the theme, OTDF will engage with stakeholders in its 5 priority development sectors: health, education, infrastructure, economic development and social development. These 5 priority areas are also in line with the government's medium-term development plan and the Western Province's 5-year development plan. OTDF Board Chairman Mushe Wera said the strategic direction shows the transition of becoming less dependent on Oktedi Mining Limited. Mr. Wera said in a press statement that regular engagements at village level has enabled OTDF to strengthen the capacity of the CMCA Village Trust, women's associations, and to secure support for new agriculture and forestry initiatives. The initiatives are for the villages to sustain their future, driven by 3-scale livelihood development packages in rice, rubber, and Eaglewood. OTML Chief Executive Officer Ian Middleton is confident that OTDF will deliver a positive future for the people of Western Province. Basenata Yama, National EMTV News.
Founder and Executive Director of the PNG Women in Business, Janet Sape, has praised the government's commitment to support the small to medium enterprise sector. Mrs. Sape recently represented PNG at the United Nations Public-Private Partnership Conference in Aruba in the Caribbean islands. Mrs. Sape gave a presentation at the conference during the finance session, highlighting lessons and best practices in public-private partnerships for small island developing states.
Mrs. Sape recently returned from the UN Public-Private Partnership Conference in Aruba and called a media conference to share highlights of the meeting. She said the conference was a platform to share PNG's experience of having the first women's microbank in the Pacific region and the 4th in the world. Mrs. Sape said this was a successful venture made possible through the support of the national government and the Bank of PNG.
They wanted me to go and share about the success of our women's microbank, how we have succeeded in doing this. So I was very thrilled to take that invitation, and I just had to leave to go and share, because that was a recognition given by the United Nations to the women of Papua New Guinea, the government of Papua New Guinea, the Bank of Papua New Guinea, and all the partners who have assisted us in achieving the dream of our women's microbank.
The UN Under-Secretary General Jian Chandra Acharya in a letter thanked Mrs. Sape for her contribution, saying her presentation was insightful.
To develop more ideas and look at how best we can raise these issues and challenges up at the United Nations level for the governments from around the world, how the big countries can help the small countries to develop and sustain the small island countries.
She thanked the UN for recognizing the work of the women of Papua New Guinea. The UN is moving to implement the 2030 Millennium Goals, which looks at the role of the private sector in contributing to the sustainability of small island developing states. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
The Bank of Papua New Guinea is pushing for the agenda of consumer protection and market conduct in the country. The aim is to promote transparency and full disclosure and to address common consumer protection issues affecting the Papua New Guinean consumer.
Long lines at the bank, multiple follow-up steps, and physical barriers often make banking in Papua New Guinea a difficult task for consumers. In a 2-day symposium hosted by the Bank of Papua New Guinea, the Center for Excellence in Financial Inclusion, and the Alliance for Financial Inclusion, stakeholders from the financial sector gathered to discuss policy regulations, enforcement, and consumer protection challenges.
The symposium is about the developing a framework for consumer protection, financial consumer protection, and market conduct. This is an area that since our independence in Papua New Guinea, we don't have a legal framework that will help govern
the area of consumer protection, financial consumer empowerment, and market conduct in Papua New Guinea.
It is no secret that PNG faces geographical constraints. 80% of the population live in rural areas and travel great distances to simply visit the bank. Meanwhile, with new forms of payment gradually introduced in urban areas, such as crowdfunding, risk mitigation is of paramount importance, and the central bank, along with its stakeholders, aims to address potential threats to consumers.
On the part of the ICCC, we've been struggling in isolation in trying to deal with complaints from the general public in relation to financial institutions, particularly the banks, fees and charges and all these issues that I've been dealing with for almost some time and a decade now. And I think this workshop will address some of these concerns by way of establishing a framework that should be able to deal with these issues in a long term for this country.
Leon Jarari, National EMTV News.
A Goroka family has started producing upholstery furniture on their veranda and selling it for very affordable prices on their front lawn to customers. Amidst much talks about growing the SME sector in the country, the Basse family have been building their small business over the last 3 years. Bethany Herman spoke to the Basses in Goroka.
Nancy and Tony Basse and the family live near the Rotary Park in Goroka town. For the last 1 year, they have been able to produce quality upholstery furniture on their veranda and sell at the front of their home.
This wasn't just another overnight inspiration. We started in 2013, we started getting some electrical equipments, one at a time. And I think in February, yes, we went ahead with the compressor and other big things. So we spent over 12,000 at the most in acquiring all our equipments.
They began to build these beautiful sets of lounge chairs when Tony's younger brother Emmanuel Basse left his job and said he would build furnitures for their business full-time. Customers who frequently stop in front of the house to take a look admire the results, and the first impressions are that they are imported lounge sets.
Look some imported, it's look some locally made. But the best thing is some looking how set up long all na only making me even imported.
The Basses operate from their home using the backyard shed to keep the frames, and Emmanuel saws the upholstery on the veranda. They sold many of their lounges. They have 5 ranges. Their customers stretches from the highlands to the Niugini Islands, and there has been a growing interest from customers in Port Moresby through their Facebook page. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Goroka.
And now I'll look at the finance news. The Kina opened 10 points lower at $0.3195 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.3120, $0.4042 Australian dollars, $0.2734 euro, and 33.86 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, copper closed higher, while gold, coffee, and cocoa closed the day lower. Crude oil closed lower, while palm oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed at 187.03 points higher. The ASX closed at 61.1 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 58.1 points higher. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The National Executive Council has appointed Imelda Agon as the new Chief Executive Officer for the National Gaming Control Board. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said Cabinet recognized Agon's commitment. Her appointment was decided by the Ministerial Executive Appointments Committee and endorsed based on merit. Ms. Agon will serve for a period of 4 years. Renovations at the Boroko Police Station cell blocks are into its second week. The cells were condemned by the NCD Health Services last month, and all detainees transferred to either Waigani or Badili police stations. This is the first time in years renovations have actually taken place.
This footage shows the progress of work inside the cell blocks. So far, all debris has been removed and the maintenance team is working on replacing the broken brick walls, fixing the water leakage and repainting the blocks.
AP Engineering, they've started work last week. They've done a good job now to refurbish the cells. They're working on the walls to painting and replacing all the metal sheets and iron bars. And also they will fix the block toilets, all the water pipes, and from there they will do the maintenance on the roof.
It will take 6 more weeks for the work to be completed before the cells can be used again.
Some of the iron bars in the cells will be welded and repaired so that Boroko cells can be opened for the detainees to be admitted again. But it is a very good response from the company, of which you can see the 1 week work. They've done a lot.
This footage taken in March shows the conditions of the cell blocks before the renovation. There were no lights along the corridor and water leaking through the wall. The Boroko cell blocks hold up to 200 detainees in a day, but because 4 of the 9 cell blocks that hold male detainees were closed due to escape attempts, only 5 were used for over 6 months.
The detainees who are charged for criminal offences or serious crimes, they are being detained at Niugini police station cells. For the summary offences, they are detained at Barili police station cells.
Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Australian Aid has funded a classroom and a staff house in an ablution block for Ava Badina Primary School in Central Province. The school was built in 1967 by the Papua New Guinea Defence Force. Since then, it has not seen any infrastructure development until now. Central Governor Kila Hauda and member for Kairukuhiri, Peter Iso Aimo, opened the new facilities yesterday.
As the heavy rain fell in Avabadina Primary School in Kairukuhiri district, the students lined up nevertheless to proudly sing the national anthem. The school has been neglected since it was built 49 years ago, and the emotional headmaster Noel Gita says that it was a real need. He said due to overcrowding, it affected the students academically, and the school has a total population of 480 students and 15 teachers.
It was a long issue that we have faced by educating our children with a low infrastructure development in the school.
The 2 new classrooms that will be used by grade 7 and 8 students have a storage and office space for teachers, while the new 3-bedroom house will be used by the principal. The ablution block has 1 for the boys and 1 for the girls. Kairukuhiri member Peter Iso Aimo says that the government at times may not be able to provide all of the services, and thanked the Australian government for the new facilities.
Any assistance or any gifts of such magnitude only complements our efforts in service delivery to our 121,000 plus people of Kairukuhiri.
Iso Aimo then announced that he would be committing 50,000 kina to the school. Also committing another 50,000 kina was Central Governor Kila Hauda. Hauda said that by the end of the year, the central government will build a double-story classroom for the school.
And I will kind of fund 50,000 for the school as well. Yeah. When we talk about education as our priority, we must act.
Headmaster Noel Gita said that he was pleased to hear of the commitment. He said the school facilitated 5 villages that are located along Arawa River, and the school population was growing every year. Adelaide Sirok's Kari National, EMTV News.
Education Minister Nick Kuman is concerned that if the issue of school leavers is not addressed, it will become a headache later. Kuman says unless we address it today, it will be a problem for future governments. He said this when launching the second phase of the European Union-sponsored Technical Vocational Education Training HR program today in Port Moresby.
65% of lower secondary school students are missing out on securing space in higher secondary schools. With that, Education Minister Nick Kuman is concerned that if the government is not providing opportunities for them, it may become a problem in future. He said the technical vocational education training, or TVET, is an important opportunity to skilled labor force for the country.
Those who exit within the system of education is a critical point in which the government needs to look at. And look at it more carefully, much closer, to ensure that those who exit within the system of education are affected into different parts. And those are the challenges that we are faced today.
When launching the TVET Human Resource Development Program, Phase 2 today, Mr. Kuman says many improvements have happened in the sector, but still more people need to be equipped with trade skills.
This government has to invest where it needs more capital development in this country. Papua New Guineans can actively participate at the labor level, semi-skilled labor, and skilled labor. Those are the levels that we need to develop in this country.
The European Union has been a major development partner in the country. This time, they funded the TVET Human Resource Development Program at a cost of 58 million kina.
This Human Resource Development Program 2 is fully aligned with the vision for 2050. It aims to expand the infrastructure for schools for access to lower secondary technical education.
The Phase 2 of this program will be carried out in vocational schools in 6 provinces. The provinces include East New Britain, East Sepik, Morobe, NCD, Eastern Highlands, and Enga. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
A landowner at PNG Defence Force Highlands Engineering Battalion is demanding 1.2 million kina in compensation for damages. Kelly Kiltz is the principal landowner of portions 285, 372 and 344. These land portions share boundaries with the Defence Force base in Kerawil in North Wagi District, Jiwaka Province. Mr. Kiltz claims that the PNGDF is responsible for damaging his brand new aid post with 57,000 kina in value. He says this infrastructure was on customary land but was demolished in an eviction exercise. The landowner is threatening to sue the state if his claims are not processed.
This block 8 post I mean stop inside law state land. I'm stop outside law customer land. This block ground, ground lo me papa ground. So all illegally hold been damaged in this law 8 post na me walk lo kokam lo mospina. All line all depends almost ready me area. Now all the something and cost. So now we like him Bible ready me inside long 14 days or 21 days.
22 bishops of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands were fortunate to meet with 4 of the 5 bishops of West Papua. The bishops took the opportunity to visit Jayapura in Indonesia after the annual general meeting in Vanimo, West Sepik Province. They discussed issues of cooperation between the Diocese of West Papua and the Diocese of PNG and Solomon Islands. The refugee issue and call for independence were also discussed. The Internal Revenue Commission says data they have on hand confirms that the logging sector in the country is a high-risk sector, particularly the logging sector's international related party transactions. In a media statement released this afternoon, the IRC said while high risk does not mean non-compliance, they do admit that they do not have enough resources to effectively monitor the industry.
The media release states that risk indicators for the country for all sectors that needs further attention are areas that have entities that continually return losses, entities funded by foreign shareholders, or other entities without any evidence of any commercial terms of borrowing or return on investment, use of offshore marketing hubs, complex structuring and or the use of tax havens, or where normal tracing rules as to ownership or flow of funds leads to jurisdictions which will not disclose such information. This media release comes amidst debate over corruption in the logging industry sparked by this report, Based on data collected within the country, the Auckland Institute claimed that a lot of logging companies in the country are continually returning losses, and one company in particular has been using a complex web of companies to avoid paying taxes. This has resulted in over $600 million in lost revenue annually for the country. Yesterday, members of civil society organizations say issues raised within this report have been pending for 30 years and needs urgent government attention. IRC says over the years, certain processes and conditions have been put in place to minimize risk in tax evasion, such as a robust transfer pricing regime and becoming members on international bodies. However, IRC states, to the extent that non-compliance may exist in the logging sector, IRC cannot tackle it alone. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Now back to an earlier story. At least 6 survivors of the Rabaul Queen disaster were called into the National Courtroom in Kokopo to give their accounts of the ordeal. All of them lost relatives in the 2012 disaster. The case was further adjourned to 9:30 next Monday morning. Edwin Fidelis reports.
The Rabaul Queen court case resumed at 9:45 this morning after it was adjourned yesterday afternoon. Present in the courtroom were Peter Sharp, is Rabaul ship's captain Anthony Chiao, their lawyers and the state prosecutors. The case was presided over by Justice Terence Egan's. A total of 6 witnesses were called into the courtroom since yesterday to testify regarding the 2012 ferry disaster. Almost all of them lost a family member when the Rabaul Queen sank. This time, Mr. Sharp's lawyers will be answering to 172 individual manslaughter charges. The case has dragged into its 4th day, with more witnesses who will be called into the courtroom to testify. The cause of the debate in court today between the state prosecutors and Mr. Sharp's lawyers were about life jackets on the ship and the padlocks that were latched to the cupboard that contained life vests for the passengers, and how passengers were unable to reach these life jackets when the ship went through rough seas that time. The case was further adjourned this afternoon to resume 9:30 next Monday morning. Now, it's a case that still hasn't brought peace to many survivors and those who have lost family members during the ferry disaster. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. The details on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Air Niugini today announced support for the West New Britain provincial government as the official carrier of the 7th PNG Games. In its capacity, the national flag carrier will transport over 7,000 athletes from centres right across Papua New Guinea to the Games. Air Niugini is the 2nd major sponsor to come on board, following Bank South Pacific as the naming rights sponsor.
The national flag carrier, official carrier of the 2015 Pacific Games, and now the official carrier of the BSB's 7th PNG Games. Chairman of Air Niugini Limited, Sir Frederick Raya, was ecstatic to announce the carrier's involvement with the national sporting event, which will be hitting the shores of the West New Britain province in 7 months' time.
I'm proud of our contribution to national development and to regional development as the national flag carrier. I'm also very proud of the strong Air Niugini community support program. That includes our role as the official carrier for the 7th PNG Games to be held in your province, Governor Mutara, later this year. As we undertake the massive task of transporting over 7,000 athletes, I'm told it might even be 10 by the time we finish, from centres right across Papua New Guinea to the Games, our new aircraft will be invaluable.
With the mammoth task of transporting over 7,000 athletes in and out of Kimbe, West New Britain, Governor of the host province, Sindran Muthuva, was appreciative of the gesture as it will contribute to the success of the 7th PNG Games.
As Chairman also mentioned, we will be expecting at least 10,000 visitors, especially athletes, officials coming to West New Britain from all over the 22 provinces. This is not a provincial event, this is a national event. And I thank Niugini sincerely for announcing also as an official carrier to be the official carrier for this 2016 PNG Games. It's a mammoth task to transport all those athletes from all those 22 provinces. And I thank Minister Justin for his personal support to encourage such a small province, especially West New Britain, to host also this major national event.
Meanwhile, Minister for Sports and National Events Justin Chachenko acknowledged the challenges posed by West New Britain, but has assured the government's support in ensuring the facilities currently under construction leave a lasting legacy, not just for the province, the athletes and the PNG Games, but for sport in Papua New Guinea.
As a national event happening in November in West New Britain, it's quite a logistic exercise, and Governor knows this more than many, to host a national event in his province, especially when the facilities all have to be built, but leaving a lasting legacy for these PNG Games.
Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
And Governor Muthuvel is urging all provincial governments to take ownership of their respective teams representing their provinces in the BSP 7th PNG Games. He said the PNG Games is significant to those two sports in the country, as it is most probably one of the biggest and sufficient talent identification programs for Team PNG. Given the amount of money spent by the host organizing committee on the preparations, each province must meet the cost for the 2-week period in November. Kato Otio has impressed the Canberra Raiders squad since he arrived in a train and trial contract late last year. He is close to making a debut with the Raiders after playing with the Mounties in the New South Wales Cup. He secured a 2-year contract after a strong pre-season and was rewarded with a spot in the squad for the Auckland Nines.
Puts it into the sky, near the touchline. Oh, yeah! Oh, my!
Otio has lit up the New South Wales Cup with athletic finishes and high takes to score 10 tries in the opening 6 games for the Mounties. Raiders recruitment chief Peter Mulholland says his chances of making a debut in the NRL for the Raiders is getting close. Otio has been named in the first 13 in all matches played with the Mounties and has shown signs of improvement in every game.
Oh, spectacular! Otio it was.
He will have to be patient before making a debut in the NRL and has to work on his defense as a winger, having played in second row with the SPPNG Hunters. But the Raiders coaching staff are confident in Otio's ability to be called on to play in the NRL team if any injuries arise.
Into the corner, flying to is Otio! They're claiming the try.
Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
Still on Rugby League, SP Hunters coach Michael Marum says despite injury concerns within the team, particularly with Wartova Puara and Noel Zimming, the team is shaping up to take on the North Devils this weekend at the National Football Stadium. Marum admitted that the team had defaults this season and have yet to play their best football.
Wartova is still sore, he's a bit sick too, so he wants to play, but I'll see, make a last minute calling in. But Zimming, I got Eric Vera, he's got a calf, and also Esau, he's got a knee. It's an old knee, so yeah, no. And yeah, we got another few more days before the game, so hopefully tomorrow we got another pool session, so and they'll recover before the captain's run. He still hasn't started running, so he probably got another week, so he can start training properly before he can be selected back into the side. But probably another 2 weeks at this stage. Again, he's one of those boys checking up tonight, looking at the physio. Yeah.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Basketball PNG last night unveiled a brand new look with new motives for the year 2016 following the introduction of their new management team earlier in the year. As part of the plans to go big and do big, Basketball PNG will attract international matches held here in the country with many Oceania nations.
Following his appointment earlier in the year as Basketball PNG's executive officer, Joel Kalu is well on the way to reviving basketball to its former glory. At the launch of the new look logo yesterday evening, Kalu unveiled the Federation's theme and mission of changing the game and becoming the pioneer and leading basketball nation in the Oceania region.
The statement's direct. Enhance Papua New Guinea's passion for basketball by providing opportunities that enable both males and females of all ages to play the sport from grassroots to the elite levels. We want to have a game that everyone can play. That's our goal. And I think based on the passion of the people that we have involved in the sport and the key partnerships that we hope to establish through our strategic plan over the next number of years, we know that both of these are definitely achievable.
The rebranding has been a long time coming. It hasn't only introduced a new look, but encouraged new partnerships which have allowed the Federation to present new development programs which will in turn harness the growth of the code in the country and eventually the region.
The Australian government, who through their support will allow us to roll out a number of new initiatives under our new Hoops for Health community engagement program, which is all about making positive change through basketball.
This is a very important project for FIBA. This is the only one in the world which is occurring, and it's here in Papua New Guinea. And it's because of all those aspects, the people, the facilities, the talent of the executive, the support of the government. They're the reasons that we're here. My ambition is to be able to go back to my headquarters in Switzerland, to be able to tell my boss we have a working model, and the working model is sustainable. From the small business of basketball running in Papua New Guinea, they were able to continue to grow the sport, get more people playing, and of course attract lots of other external supporters to the game.
FIBA's intentions are simple and achievable. Through their partnership with each of the federations in the region, they're looking to double the number of people playing basketball in the Pacific. Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
To football, and Ley City dwellers lost to Auckland City FC in yesterday's Group A clash may have well kept them out of the semi-final hopes in the OFC Champions League. While Hekari United topped Pool A with rival team Wellington, both equal in points, and will go head-to-head in a showdown for the semi-final spot this Saturday.
Late goal by Portuguese striker João Moreira gave Auckland City FC a dramatic win to deny Ley City dwellers an historic first-ever point in the OFC Champions League. Had it not been for Moreira's intervention for the defending champions, both games would have ended in a 1-1 draw and thrown Group A wide open. That goal, however, has proven crucial as Auckland will now be favourites to finish on top of Group A, although Amical can still do so if they beat the New Zealanders in the group's all-important final game on Sunday.
Dickinson with a chance. Oh, and he scores!
In Group B, Hekari United and Team Wellington both earned their second straight victories on match day 5, while Suva FA and AS Lossie are out of the running to make the knockout stages. While the group's last match between Wellington and Hekari on Sunday will effectively act as a head-to-head showdown for the semi-finals. The loser of that match may still progress as the best placed runner-up, but that is likely to depend on the health of their goal tally.
It's ended up in the back of the net.
In Group C, Magenta's victory over Tefana on match day 4 has put them in a prime position to claim the top spot in Group C and qualify for the OFC Champions League semi-finals for the first time in 10 years. But they will first have to get past the spirited Nadi side. For AS Tefana, it is also a must-win situation, as the side needs a big win against a depleted Kiwi FC if they want to claim the now coveted runners-up slot. For Kiwi FC, things are more complicated than they expected at this stage in the competition. They will have some ground to make up in the eyes of their peers and fans back home in Samoa, but it will be a hard mountain for them to climb.
Oh, they've taken it! Can you believe it?
For Nandi, like QEFC, the next 90-minute match will be a tough one as Day 2 struggle with a hugely depleted squad. The OFC Champions League takes a break today and will move on to QBE Stadium tomorrow. With a pair of games in Group C, Nandi FA taking on AS Magenta from 11 a.m. before AS Stefana meet QEFC at 1:30 p.m. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
And then in Strukai Sports, we'll be back with the weather details for the next 24 hours after these messages.
Strukai Sports. Strukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. A shower or two expected in Port Moresby and Alatau, mostly fine in Daru, Kerama and Popondetta. To the Momasi region, mostly fine in Ley, Wau, Medang and Wibek, a shower or two in Vanimo. To the Niugini Islands region, a shower or two in Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka, mostly fine in Lorengau and Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, mostly fine in Mount Hagen, evening showers expected in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. And that ends National EMTV News this Thursday, the 14th of April 2016. From the EMTV News team, I'm Mera Botulo. Pleasant viewing. Good night.